Hello, Ed boys. It's Pearly. We're doing a tier list. The third deck video is still being a fucking bitch. I hate writing. I'm sorry. So we're gonna talk about like budget decks post Rarity 3, aka Bonanza, aka quarter century 2025 is happening. I don't know. So what are we expecting out of these decks? Expecting them to be under $150 tops, more realistically closer to $100, and are very reasonable to be meta playable. Starting with Sky Striker. Sky Striker is incredibly budget based. This deck could go you for literally like $80 now, thanks to Link Gauge, SP Little Knight, and like every other card being like reprinted into the ground at this point. However, Sky Striker is extremely reliant on the player who is playing it. Basically, are you him? With Widowmaker and Afterburners and a bunch of other spell cards they have, the deck has very much plenty of ways to go second and do what it needs to do. However, it is still going up into a meta against some very terrifying decks who are very much less fair than it. Thunder Dragon. Not yet, I'm gonna be honest. Thunder Dragon has the cool ability of playing Titan and Colossus. Unfortunately, this isn't TOS format anymore, and just making a card that says you can't add cards to deck to hand doesn't fucking stop anything anymore. You now have to actually like try to play the game. Will I say this deck is fucking terrifying though? Absolutely. Dragon Link Thunder Dragon variants are extremely terrifying, but they still have the issue of being Thunder Dragon reliant, and that deck is so many more ways of being countered now. Ancient Gears. Previously, this deck actually was not budget because of the fucking link to Ballistica. However, that card got reprinted into the ground thanks to Rarity 3. Now we can play it. Is it worth it? If you've played it in Master Duel or if you've done anything like that, I think it is reasonably another Are You Him, because the deck has a lot of really good, really easy to accomplish combos. You just need to understand how to flexibly move between each of them reasonably well. Paleozoic. Oh, my beautiful little baby trap cards. Oh man, y'all are so cool. I love Paleozoic. I think this deck is, I want to put it in peak. I do. I love it, and I think it deserves to be in peak. Unfortunately, it is Are You Him. Paleozoic, even in budget now that is in budget thanks to transaction rollback. Paleozoic is now in I can't speak. Is an amazing deck now that it's in the budget range thanks to transaction rollbacks being reprinted in the Megatens. However, you're still playing Paleozoic. You're still hoping you land like the right cards at the right time to sort of last longer in the duel. If you don't do it, a duel will last 40 minutes for no reason. Also, there's just better trap decks at this point. Trap Tricks. Oh man, Trap Tricks is really cool actually. Modern Trap Tricks actually does a little bit of plant leak shenanigans thanks to Rikas and the Ragnarikas just existing, and people realizing, oh, Trap Tricks is just a really good Xyz variant you can do with the deck instead of going into fusions. I'd say it's a really good plant link deck. Actual Dragon Link. Actual Dragon Link has an issue. And it's that, like, even with the reprints, it still has expensive cards. In budget, you're still under the rocket. You can't play Bystials, and for that alone, you're already kind of like, I don't think it's worth it. You should have bought Hot Fries instead. Unchained, Fiend Link, whatever you want to call this at this point. It's fucking peak. I'm gonna be honest. We're just already at peak. I think this deck is incredibly good for the budget it is at. I think just playing pure Unchained is incredibly good thanks to like you just being able to dance with like whatever links you need. All of the cards in the deck are surprisingly cheap now because of all the reprints. Like, it's all good. It's all really good, and I love it. Like, it is just barely in the above Are You Him to where it is still reasonable to play this deck. Speaking of reasonable things to play a deck, Pearly. Holy shit, Pearly's so fucking fun. Oh my god. I love Pearly. I love modern Pearly, being able to use the fairy packages, just being able to use like Heralds and Honest and stuff like that, being able to guarantee your shit's resolving the way you want to resolve it. The issue really fucking sucks right now. Like, extremely. Just ending on a big fat guy doesn't really do enough. And my big baby boy is not good enough to resolve most of the problems I want to have with the format. Runic for Hire is incredibly based actually. I'm gonna be honest. The deck is like pennies. You can build this. It's we're just gonna get out of the way now. It's fucking peak. The deck is incredibly fucking fun. You can do so much goofy shit with the deck. Being able to draw 6 is just a really good option a lot of things have. It does actually have good matchups against the meta. Only issues you're going to have with it is you are going to, once again, be really balancing around the idea of controlling how your cards are going to interact with your opponent. But when you can figure out how to do that, that goes off like fucking crazy. Speaking of things going off like crazy, Goblin Bikers. Goblin Bikers is funky. I've actually played against this recently in 2 different variants. Obviously, we have the Fiendsmith Goblins that are in OCG right now. And as soon as like TCG players start dancing with that idea, I'm sure we're actually going to see a lot more players on this strategy. Until then, I have also seen another goofier build using the Makonkos as a package for a free level 3 piece, which also is incredibly funny and incredibly scary. But I think just for the Beansmith Goblin Vikers, I think it's just going to be an Are You Him right now, seeing as it's still, you're playing with goblins before they actually get like back row interaction off Materia Reactor. Dynamorphia. This is the third trap deck in our list so far. Holy moly. Dynamorphia is cool. I'll give it to y'all. I think you're playing under so many more factors than you should be to play it, but like, I think you're very reasonably within reason to play this deck. I just wish it had more to go for it besides just a big skill drain, because I'm gonna be honest, a skill drain isn't good enough. Just a single floodgate's not good enough anymore. Hell, even 2 isn't. Mimighoul! I love this deck so fucking much. You don't understand. This deck has so many cool fucking strategies it can do. We can literally pivot off of like the main game plan into just rank 1 spam into hoping to God that works out. And that's so fucking fun. Unfortunately, Dominus Impulse fucking exists and doesn't lock you out of like the actually cool attributes in the game right now. So every deck that is like worth its fucking salt is playing that card, ruining Mimighoul's spot. However, the deck's super fucking fun and like it's really good. It really is just like a little bit off of being like a YCS top. Sprite. Oh man, Sprite. We've all seen the What Happened To video. We know what Sprite's done recently. It's not really worth it. I'm gonna be honest, for the price tag. It can definitely still top events, but like I don't think it's time anymore, people. Fire King. Now I know, looking at Fire King, you think I'm going to be bringing up Snake Eye Azumina Fire King. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna bring up just the Bellstar Fire King, which does play a smaller Snake Eye package in the Fire King variant, but we're cutting out all the Azuminas. And hilariously, if you do this, the deck does reach well below the price tag we're looking for today, folks. In fact, thanks to the reprints that came out in the Bonanza, the deck is incredibly good now in a budget. Why would I not think this is like an amazing strategy for 110 bucks actually? For that alone, I'm gonna put it in budgeted breaker because it is insanely good. Y'all should absolutely be looking into this strategy now that like Bellstar and Wanted are now officially affordable. Vanadium. Such a relic of the past Vanadium is. Back when we had like Synchro spam that was really worth doing it, going into Borreload, going into Baron. Unfortunately now we have none of that. So now you're relying on Vanadium reframing and whatever side strategy you want to put in with it. Most strategies aren't really looking for what Vanadium brings anymore. Or at least outside the archetype. Melodious. Oh man, Melodious is scary affordable and scary good. I think Melodious is incredibly peak, I'm gonna be honest. This deck is unreasonably cheap. Like almost everything is common or same price as commons. Everything that like you would be thinking is problem for the deck, you can pivot it with other strategies. Voiceless Voice would be happily looking for this card, which means you can build into Voiceless Voice, you can build into a bunch of other goofy things with Melodious, and it is incredibly good. Millennium, man, Millennium on paper is so fucking cool. It's just a deck that just says fuck you, I'm gonna just get to my big fucking guy and just beat the shit out of you repeatedly. The reality of the deck is they do get to the big fucking guy, backed up behind Secret Village and fucking Tikbu. Oh, also, if you think you can just use one interaction piece to like blow up this Secret Village, you're wrong. The big guy also has a fucking spell and trap negate. That being said, when you're playing it yourself, holy shit, this deck's so fucking fun, dude. It's so good. I love it. Labyrinth. Pineapple Yu-Gi-Oh would like actively kill me if I put Labyrinth below peak gaming. So we'll talk about the 2 variants that actually matter real quick before we tell them why it's not going above peak gaming. So Labyrinth has 2 variants. One is Eldritch 2.0 and the other version is Furniture. Furniture Lab is the objectively cooler version, which is now recently actually seeing a bit of play in the format in like reasonably good. The deck has lots of good plans, there's lots of good strategies coming towards it. You can easily do infinite plays once you get off the ground, but the only downside is if they do fuck you up in some way with like Bystials, you're a little bit scared. Like if they get rid of your big lady, you're a little bit worried of what they can do after. And then there's Eldritch Lab, which is the more meta deck of the 2. The deck is incredibly good. Being able to flip up 4 floodgates and just like sitting on big ladies is objectively good, but I think the bigger issue with the deck is if Floodgate gets countered or just stopped before it goes off, the deck just dies. Like, you're dead at that point. Same thing with furniture. If furniture doesn't get the right pieces it needs at the right time, it also is just incredibly dangerous to go off. I'm gonna say we're gonna put it in Are You Him, and then Pineapple can say he's just him. There we go. Perfect. Tenpai. Tenpai is cool, I guess. I don't fucking know. It's Tenpai. They get to like play the game, I guess, while you don't. It literally is like the meme of like Yu-Gi-Oh being non-games in the fucking archetype. It's super fun. Unfortunately, it's also really fucking cheap and affordable, so like you get to like do that, I guess. Runic Stun is this version. I'm actually gonna put this a lot lower than you think. I'm gonna say this actually does need more love, mostly because once we've lost like the majority of our floodgates, we don't have a new skill drain to go into. Actually, we've got like the stone, but like the stone isn't good enough. I will be a pro stun player real quick. I think stun as a style of deck, he's got an interesting place. The unfortunate point is stun as an thing right now hasn't adapted past flipping up 4 cards and hoping your opponent can't stop that. So hopefully in the future we do get a more interesting way to play the deck that can actually resolve most of the issues I'm talking about right now. Ritual Beast. Oh man, I actually was talking about somebody with this deck recently. This deck's really good. It's the only issue with it is you will have hands where you get stopped with a single interaction, and hands where you have so much gas there is physically no way for you to stop. That being said, there are way more times where your hand is going to be a one-stop shop and nothing else. That being said, thanks to the Elder reprint in Bonanza, the deck is only $100 now. And me saying this deck is like bad is insane. Like, the deck is still incredibly good. Drytron. The bit recently has just been like Drytron is the like meme deck of the format that does exist. However, Drytron's fucking scary actually. Like, have you read Drytron cards? They do still like commit their bit incredibly well. And the only thing that stops them from like doing a new stuff is like, you're locked into machines now. Oh no, I get to make a big fuck off Omni. Oh no, you're so fine. You do not care. This deck is so good still. It's a bit more on the pricier end just because of Drytron Nova still not getting a reprint. Konami, please. But still, the deck is reasonably cheap and affordable. Salamangreat. You think this deck would actually be one of the like expensive ones, but no. Surprisingly, this deck can still reasonably get under $100. The only difference is you get to play one last big Phoenix, and like that's kind of it. The rest of the deck is incredibly cheap. You just don't have to play the Molcharmius, whatever will you do, right? The deck's really good. Gimmick Puppets. All right, so we limited both of the like big names, and people think that was enough to like kill the deck. It wasn't. The only issue with this deck is that people learned how the deck actually functions and immediately went, oh, if we just like Ghost Ogre your field spell, you kind of just can't do it, can you? And they realized it, all right, just the right format, and this deck will just jump straight into playable top tier again. Last but not least, Flu. Unfortunately, we're at the point now with Flu under Ease where Impin plus Featherstorm is not enough, actually. In fact, this deck is incredibly good in casual. I wouldn't even be surprised if Master Duel starts unhitting some of its cards. Yeah. We're officially at the point where I'm gonna say we should have spent more money on hot fries, my guy. Anyway, that's the list. I think this is pretty reasonable for a budget list. There's incredibly good decks that are still meta good up here, and the other ones are like incredibly good meta calls. The only ones that get to like Are You Him are like requiring a good amount of people just to like play the format and like learn their deck more, and the rest are just kind of like okay, like they're fine. They've topped events. Like everything on this list has topped an event. Oh, if you think Ryzel's gonna be like anyway meta compared to like what the OCG did with it, you're so fucking wrong, and you're gonna see that when we don't get the Scythe people out of the game. Anyway, I've been a talking cat. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.